Okay, so some of the obvious progress I've made is the added faux leather to the seat. I shaped the wood using, sander, and then I covered it with padding and stapled the faux leather to the bottom of the seat, the wooden seat, with the padding between, of course. I'm not sure about the position of the seat yet. I feel it may be a little bit high, and the give in the springs is obviously too much. It's because of the length of the seat. There's an incredible amount of leverage on the back, so I'll have to add some sort of springs and struts. I spent about a day porting the jug, and I port the gaskets, the intake and the exhaust side. These are tricky because they're so delicate, so I just sandwich them between two pieces and use a Dremel, sort of open them up to match the intake or the exhaust. I mean, I do the same thing to the exhaust side. I open as far as I can go before I hit the studs on either end, and on the exhaust side I'll go up a couple millimeters, and the intake I'll go down a couple millimeters, and that's of course to negate any port timing, messing with the port timing. This is the intake. I use the file. I just put it in the vise and use the file, and the walls are so thick I opened it up as wide as it would go. I do the same thing with the exhaust, the MZ65. See, there's two of them here. This one here is the way they come from the factory. Pretty raw, metal lips sticking out all over the place. The one underneath is one that I've taken a file to and port matched to the exhaust. See, this one right here is the way they come. See, you can see that lip there. So I just set it up in the vise, and I'll use a file and just file away at it. It takes about a day to port the jug and the gaskets and the exhaust and the intake. No sense in porting just one of these components, because if you don't port all of it, there's no point in really just porting one of these things, because you wouldn't get very much. I mean, you'd get a lip and you'd lose performance gain. So anyhow, I didn't really progress much on the frame, just the seat, to the faux leather. I'm pleased with how slender it is. The seat, I mean, and the shape of it. With these YD100s, I've never really had a problem with. I mean, they perform really great, really, really good. I like the fact that they're a single jug. That way, it lessens any sort of leaks from the head. I remember my last China doll engine, I had leaks coming from the head. See, I ported the exhaust. It makes such a difference if you do a good port job on these engines. Also this the face of where they meet, the gasket, I put JB weld on there, and I'll sand it down and that's to improve the mating uh, connection between the gasket and um, the exhaust or the intake. You know that it decreases the possibility that you might lose some sort of a compression. You want a really good seal because you don't have to be chasing some sort of leak, not knowing where it's at. So it's worth putting in the extra time. It only took me about a day. I'm getting a lot faster at it, just from doing it so many times. See, that's really clean looking. I ported the exhaust on this, the MZ65, where it meets the jug. Now I just have to put some JB weld on the face and sand it down, make it a clean connection. So time well spent on preparing the engine. Really my objective is to sort of make it look seamless, but at the same time I don't want to bondo any pieces permanently to the frame, for the sake of convenience, in case certainly whenever the engine needs to be worked on, I want to be able to remove any of these fins easily and get to any engine compartment without having to squeeze your hands in anywhere. This is where the CDI will go, and it'll also hide any wires from the throttle and the clutch. I'm still redesigning the seat. It's sort of it seems like I spend most of the time trying to figure out how the seat will go. Really, it consumes a lot of time. Try to make sure that it doesn't that it has some sort of shock absorption, but it doesn't interfere with the rear fender. So it has to reach a balance between the two, and I'm not there yet. I'm thinking adding some struts in the back to the rear axle and a couple more springs, a couple more bicycle springs. Also, I'll add some fins to the bottom of this seat to make it look thicker, more filled in. Try to hide some of this